After 2 days in the wilderness, we have reached the remote border between Sudan and Ethiopia. My fear is that our contacts will have found getting here as difficult as we have. But to my huge relief, there is a Dr. Livingston. You must be. Sorry we're late. And I'm sorry my trousers are ripped. We're trying to pull the vehicle out of sort of where we had stuck and we had the trees across the road. His name is Graham Hancock, British journalist. Did you? You mean it's as bad going that way? Is it really?
It's really dark.
No. So you arrived here very late as well?
We got here at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we've just been kind of hanging out, waiting for you to turn up. Yeah.
First of all, we've got to clear customs on both sides, do we?
You'll have no problem on that side.
Really?
Yeah. There's nobody there to check it.
If we have no problems and we can get going, and we have a few problems on the Sudanese side, how quickly can we get to somewhere where, can we get to Gondar?
We can get to Gondar, but it will take us, I would guess, not less than 8 hours.
Oh, really? So we won't get there.
That's if we get rolling straight away.
Yeah.
The problem is driving this road in the dark.
Yeah.
In daylight, it's acceptable. Yeah. In the dark, you keep getting bogged down just because you can't see what you're getting into.
How far is the road bad?
I'm afraid it's bad for the best part of 200 kilometers.
Is that most of the way to Gondar?
Yes, and then it starts to get good.
I think I'll go home. I want to go home. In order to avoid the war-torn south of Sudan, our route now takes us in a wide detour away from 30 degrees. Across the highlands of Ethiopia, to Gondar, Lake Tana, and on to the capital, Addis Ababa. Next morning, after spending a mercifully short night in a village of mud huts, we're on the move early. The landscape is a surprise. Lush green meadows, and the first mountains we've seen since Norway. We're here because of a civil war in Sudan, but until 4 months ago, one just as fierce was being waged in Ethiopia. The war may be over, but not everyone has surrendered. This lonely countryside provides perfect cover for bandits and privateers. We're accompanied everywhere by soldiers. The guns are loaded. In the villages, there are more obvious signs of the ruinous war. The children have not been to school for years. There's little work. Shelter is basic and food is scarce. We stop for a breakfast cuppa along with our armed escorts. Thank you. The youngest, politest, least aggressive army I've ever seen. Have you had experience of anyone being shot at or stopped on these roads?
There's constant incidents on these roads and in other roads in Ethiopia where lone vehicles, particularly travelling at night, are stopped and the vehicle is either stolen or the contents are stolen. Sometimes people get killed. Sometimes they'll attack more than one vehicle. And therefore it's considered a sensible precaution to send along a few armed guards with a convoy. Yeah.
Who pays for the wages of the guards?
Well, these people draw no salary. They're entirely a volunteer army. None of them have any income from it at all. They just get their food and their accommodation and cigarettes.
How old are they?
I would say these kids are not more than 18, 16 to 18, and it's a curious fact that those who successfully overthrew the dictatorship were almost all kids of this age. A year ago, Mengistu, the former president, was heading the largest army in sub-Saharan Africa. It was a massive dictatorship, huge security apparatus. Nobody would have believed that he could be removed by a bunch of kids from the hills.
Can you sense it when you look around or you come into a village like this? Can you sense there's a sort of different atmosphere?
Definitely. I mean, I've been travelling around this country for years, and the atmosphere is the most noticeable change. The feeling of relief that people feel that they're in control of their own lives again.
Ethiopia continues to provide surprises. I don't think any of us associated the place with floods. Cool mountain air and the beauty of the scenery is welcome. It's easy to forget this is not quite the paradise it seems. Our vehicle becomes separated from the rest. Though we must wait for them to rejoin us, a roadside stop is highly risky. Everyone breathes a little easier when the convoy catches up with us. Now at least we're moving targets. We head hell for leather out of the unstable border country to the comparative safety of the first sizable settlements.
This is the place where they go.
This is their village. This is where they live?
Well, around here.
Nearby. Different. You getting out? What will we do without you? Thanks very much. Thanks very much for looking after us. Okay? We got through safe.
Thank you.
Give these men promotions straight away. Great. Hey, make them sergeants.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hey. Right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a fine army. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll know who to ask for next time we come around. Thanks a lot. Cheers. They're happy now. They're suddenly happy. I can understand why. They're going to eat and sleep and everything I want to do.
Back where the air is sensibly cool.
Yeah, it's rained. This is significant. It's just rained. There's been a colossal thunderstorm. Indeed, hailstones have fallen. Thank you. Just giving the weather forecast. Hailstones have fallen. I think it's the first rain that we've had, certainly since northern Norway. So we've been dry too long, especially in the Sudan. So we go on. Does that now mean that we're safe now? We're out of bandit country?
There's about 65 kilometers between here and Gondar, and it's safe. It's safe. It's all a lie. Actually, it's the most dangerous 65 kilometers of all.
It's like everyone tells us, the next bit of road, that's fine. Next 100 miles, absolutely good road.
That's where we end up getting hijacked.
This has been one hell of a journey. Okay, so we go. You want to come? Gondar. That's once the capital of Ethiopia, Gondar is like somewhere out of a different age. I'm not exactly surprised to learn that the country works to a different calendar. It's only 1984 here. Through the smoke and chilly mist loom the twin pillars of Ethiopian history, church and empire.
Well, this is the castle compound, as they call it, in Gondar. It was established in 1635 when Gondar became the capital city of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Emperor at that time was called Fasilidas, and he built the first castle here. But over the next 150 years, the successive emperors each decided to build their own massive castle as well. But the tradition of emperors is very old in this country. It goes back well before recorded history. And for the last 750 years, there's just been an unbroken line of emperors until Haile Selassie in 74.
Well, that must make Ethiopia unique in Africa.
Completely unique.
That tradition going
Completely
back. And it wasn't,
unique.
during that time, wasn't colonised, was it?
No, the country's never been colonised. The Italians tried.
So, there seems to be European influence here. I mean, where's that come from?
There were Portuguese in Ethiopia. They'd been invited in to help an emperor deal with a Muslim threat, and they stayed on. And there's a possible Portuguese influence in these castles.
Presumably they were despots, were they? They didn't have any...
You could say, almost without exception, that all Ethiopian emperors were despots. Very dictatorial, very single-minded. Their word was law.
Was there any attempt to form a constitution or limit their power?
A constitution was created by Haile Selassie, but one of the main clauses was that his power was inviolable and could not be disputed.
Very clever, yes.
This is Tefera, the unhappiest lion in Africa. He was owned by Haile Selassie, the former emperor, and I believe he's about 20 years old now. He spent most of those 20 years in here.
They got rid of the emperor, but they didn't get rid of the lion.
They didn't get rid of the lion, the symbol of imperial power, no.
I mean, that's really horrible in there. That's disgusting. It's a terrible, terrible place to keep any animal.
Yeah, and the
flies all around him.
It seems almost like a kind of punishment because he was associated with the emperor.
The surrounding mountains have enabled Ethiopia to develop in its own individual way. There's little on the streets of Gondar to suggest anything much has changed since the emperors built their castles. The country has remained traditional, agricultural, and apart from Mussolini's brief invasion in the 1930s, largely cut off from exposure to the West. But not everyone wants to turn their back on the outside world. Mohammed, you listen to the radio?
Yes, I listen to the radio, particularly BBC.
Do you?
Yeah.
The World Service?
Yeah, BBC World Service, yeah.
What do you like to listen to?
I have a great interest to listen to football, particularly England football, club football.
Do you have a team, a favourite team in England?
Team in England, that is Manchester United. I loved the match.
And did you hear the football last Saturday? Did you listen to it?
In case of some problems, I didn't hear the football.
So you can't tell me whether my team won?
The reason?
My team is Sheffield Wednesday.
Do
you know about them?
Yeah, I know about them.
We beat Manchester United in the League Cup last season.
Yes.
I was there.
Yes.
So bad luck. There is an urgent need I have to attend to before I leave Gondar. The successful semi-circumnavigator must make sure all his equipment is in working order. More in hope than anything else, I take my trousers, ripped in action in the Sudan, to a local tailor. Only they've got to last me the South Pole.
If he's got any blue thread.
Oh, he's having a go straight away. This is great. Now,
beautiful piece of metal.
That is brilliant. That's about sort of 1 minute 10 seconds flat.
and it's completely invisible.
Two burrs, Ethiopian burr. I'm still on Sudanese money, so...
A burr is approximately 50 US cents.
Is it?
Yeah, or a third, 30 pence.
So this is...
Two of them is about $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Two? Thank you very much.
Second one.
That's really good. Excellent. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Look at that. Near perfection. We leave Gondar heading south to one of the least known and yet most important places in Africa. This is Lake Tana, where the Blue Nile rises. It's a natural reservoir, providing water for Sudan and Egypt. It's the only lake in Africa where these papyrus reed boats are found. Their design has been traced back to ancient Egypt. They look perilously fragile, yet they've been crossing the lake for thousands of years. The wood is in great demand. It'll be used for heating, cooking, building and fencing. In the green highlands round Lake Tana, Graham and I are taken on an expedition. The countryside is no different from the days when the Victorians came this way, risking their lives to find the source of the Nile. I'm risking little more than a clean shirt, but I'm realizing my first childhood ambition, to be an explorer, to see strange and wonderful things in strange and wonderful countries. Incredible. I've never seen anything like that in my life. It's a huge body of water. It's only really just left the lake, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Is the lake, Lake Tana is the source of the Nile?
Effectively, yes. It drains a lot of the mountains round about, and most of it pours out down this river here.
That's absolutely extraordinary. The power of that down there.
You can see how it manages to reach Egypt.
Well worth leaving the North Pole for all this.
Definitely.
I mean, that's a first. I've never seen anything as powerful as that. Once on the road south, we're back to reality. A poor country, exhausted by years of war and misgovernment. Three days after entering Ethiopia, we have our last sight of the River Nile, which we followed for 2,500 miles. Makes a spectacular exit in a gorge a mile deep, spanned by a single bridge carrying the road to the capital. Our safe arrival in Addis Ababa marks the end of the most difficult stretch of the journey since the pole. We should be feeling pretty pleased with ourselves. So should Addis. 4 months earlier, Colonel Mengistu and his tin pot Soviet-style regime were chased out of the country after 17 years. The monuments that every good Ethiopian was expected to admire and respect are now being taken for scrap. But there's little sign of any joie de vivre. The country should be having a ball, stripping away the past, no one seems to have the energy. Addis Ababa is a city still in shock, unable to comprehend quite what has happened to it. I suppose it must be depressing to realize that everything you were meant to believe in was false. That the great statue of Lenin that was the centerpiece of your capital is now lying on the corporation tip. Discarded. Redundant. Determined to be tolerant, the new left-wing government has allowed a demonstration. It's taking place in the square, which Mengistu used only for military parades. The demonstrators are angry at plans to partition the country, and they're staging the biggest peaceful protest Ethiopia has ever seen. Suddenly there's gunfire and people start to run. No one knows what it means, but that's the way the city is. The only point of stability and continuity seems to be the church. On a wet Sunday morning, over 1,000 people have come out to worship here. Christianity has continued unbroken in Ethiopia for 1,600 years. All the more remarkable as everywhere else around is Muslim. The rituals of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church have many similarities with the Jewish tradition. The connection goes back to the Queen of Sheba. According to the legend, she was an Ethiopian and mother of King Solomon's son. The drum they call the kibero and the silver sistra are straight out of the Old Testament. Next day we're on the move again, heading south on the unaccustomed luxury of a metalled road. But we haven't left the church behind. These roadside priests are appealing for funds. They often collect money by upturning their umbrellas and catching contributions. I'm hitching a ride with Oxfam, an organisation I've supported for years. Nick Rosevier has promised to show me how my money's being spent. What can Ethiopia itself do to improve food production?
Well, the policies of the new government are ones which I think will help a lot to get the agricultural sector much more efficient. Something like 92% of the population are dependent on agriculture, and the vast majority of that number are simply produced for their own needs.
If they were encouraged and were able to produce a small surplus and be able to sell it at market value, how much do you think that would improve matters?
I'm sure that it would improve things a lot. It would take time, but it's not going to happen next year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen the year after that. It's not going to happen in 5 years. But progressively, with incentives for people to produce more than they just need to eat for their family, eventually, Oxfam hopes to, do itself out of a job, really.
In these southern provinces, drought is not the main problem. This creek provides water for local people, but the water is tainted. Animals use it, vehicles drive through it, and it has to be carried over long distances. Traditionally the woman's job. For a total outlay of £2,000, raised in this case by the Comic Relief charity, water now comes direct to this village. A 90-foot well has been sunk and pure water pumped up by the simplest technology. Well, I'd give that to my own children, and I'd have the beer. It really is very good. In theory, the return on this modest investment is better health for everyone, and for the women, extra time and freedom. My own state of health is currently uneasy, but the hospitality keeps coming. This is the local bread. Is it a bread?
It's more like a pancake.
More like a car seat cover. So you just tear a bit off. It's a very, very strange texture, isn't it?
A bit rubbery.
A bit rubbery, and dip it in one of these.
Dip it in the sauce.
What's the least harmful for a man in my delicate metabolic situation?
Potato, if you
Potato.
if you think you can bear it.
Oh, yeah. Do you have to eat with your right hand only in Ethiopia, is that?
People do, but it's not because it's your only clean hand. It's not quite such a taboo to touch your food with your left hand.
In Sudan and Egypt, it's very bad to touch food with your left hand, isn't it? One of the best car seat covers I've ever had. Sour, isn't it?
Well, it's pounded and then fermented and then used as a sort of pancake mixture.
Is it particularly Ethiopian?
Uniquely so.
Uniquely.
Yeah.
They
You don't
don't
find it anywhere
export it. Maybe we could start a TEF franchise. In the busy little town of Shashamene, a moody walk through the streets becomes a major event. The apathy I saw in Addis doesn't seem to have any place here. As far as the locals are concerned, the circus has come to town.
Carry on. Do whatever you're doing, and I'll try and behave normally as well.
There's really nothing else to do but enjoy it as much as they are.
Where did you get that? Oh, there they are. 25.
I'll continue my gentle walk.
No, all the other time in my
Okay, now. What to do here? The end of a long day's travelling. Hotel check-ins are reminders that even time itself is not the same in Ethiopia as anywhere else. 29. One.
184.
It's 84 again. When the rest of the world adopted the Gregorian calendar, Ethiopia somehow got left behind. By 7 years and 8 months, as it happened. Outside, by Lake Awassa, it could be 1984 BC, for all I care. It's a place of soothing tranquility, where limbs are rested, Brains cleared and hopefully stomachs settled. Surrounded by all this, the problems of the journey ahead seem unimportant. It's a short-lived illusion.
Hello? Hello? I'm ringing from Awassa in Ethiopia, and I've just had some bad news. I've heard that the friend of mine who's going to meet us all at the border, at the Kenyan border at Moyale, he's been taken seriously ill and he's in hospital, so he won't be able to come and meet us. Yeah. Is there any... Hear me? Yeah. Is there any chance that you could send vehicles up to the border to meet us? It would be... Yes, it would be the end of this week, Friday, probably Friday morning. Right, well, if you can do what you can. Yeah, I appreciate that.
We're promised some sort of emergency help, but first we must get ourselves to the border, 330 miles away. Nick has returned to Oxfam headquarters and we're left to face the realities of travel in southern Ethiopia. There are no trains, precious few buses, so it's time to hitch.
You can take us some of the way, is that right? Yes. He will take us... Yes.
He says he'll take us as far as he's going, wherever that may be.
15 kilometers from here, yeah. All right, well, there doesn't seem to be anything else at the moment, so we'll take this and see. Right. All right, okay. The Lord Mayor's show, isn't it? National Westminster Bank, left. I've seen on the embankment. That's a hat. It's a chapeau. Whoa, I've got He's just lost his hat. That great hat that I liked so much. Oh dear, that's bad. Boy. Terrible loss. Excuse me. What do you have this hat? That's better. Can I have yours? Can I have yours? Your hat? Where's your hat gone? Where's his hat? This could take years. Ah, that's right. I covered this. My head's too big. I'm a fashion victim. Whoa, I've got well caught. Second slip by Roger Mills. Ah, that's it. Immaculate. Your head's very small. Whoa! This is just not going to stay on.
This lovely stretch of road is almost all that exists of the great Pan-African highway, a post-colonial dream that never became reality. Rather like Ethiopian public transport. A hitchhiker's nightmare. A hot day, an empty road, and 7,000 miles still to go. Somewhere at the end of the road is the border town of Moyale. If our Kenyan vehicles are there, we can embark on the 400-mile run to the equator and Nairobi. Fortune favours the brave. 11 hours after setting out from Lake Awassa, at the end of our 11th day in Ethiopia, we've almost reached country number 10.
Well, down here is the main street of Moyale, which is the frontier town between Ethiopia and Kenya. We've got here, thanks to various vehicles, of which this is the most comfortable, we just hope now that the vehicles that I rang up for from A&K will be here to meet us. But at least we're here. And if you don't mind, I should go and have some back surgery immediately.
I never feel comfortable at borders, and adding to my discomfort this morning is the fear that there just might not be anyone to meet me. But how could a company with a name like Abercrombie and Kent let you down?
Oh, Hi, Michael. I'm glad you could make it.
Oh, pleased to see you. I really am. So you got the message and all that?
Yeah, we got the message.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Well, we were a bit stuck when I heard about Monty. How is he?
He's much better.
Is he?
Much better.
Great.
You might be able to see him when you get to Nairobi.
Oh, that's good.
That would be good.
Because the news sounded very bad.
Yeah.
So,
This
are you
is
Abercrombie or
Kabagiri?
Kent? Mr. Abercrombie.
Nice to see
Mr.
you.
Palin. Nice to see you.
Welcome.
Very nice to see you. You don't know how nice.
Good.
So, well, it's country number 10. Shall we go?
Yes, let's get everything
Fantastic.
sorted.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long. Let's go.
In contrast to the bleakness of their surroundings, the tribes of northern Kenya love decoration and display. These are the Samburu. The word means butterfly. I spent time with them 9 years ago making a film called The Missionary. Today I'm back in the village of Larata to see if the roof we built for the school is still there. They've been told to expect a celebrity. It's a wonderful welcome, but not for me. They all love Wendy.
Show me the school. Will you show me the school? I want to see the roof still on. Hey, it's still on. Norman Garwood's work for you. Let's have a look inside. Hello, good morning. I last came here. Oh, hello, good morning. Oh, I'm honoured. Beautifully done. You must have been practicing for weeks. I was here 9 years ago to make a film, and during the making of the film, our technicians, our carpenters, put a roof on the school here. So I've come back to see it, and I'm glad the roof is still on, and it's nice to be here again. And now, do any of you know where I came from to make the film? What country? Anyone know what country I come from? England. Very good. What's your name? Solomon. Excellent. Wisdom of Solomon there. I come from England. And does anyone know what is the capital city of England? London. London. Very good. Man in the lovely hat over there. Well, I come from London, England, and this time I've come from somewhere different. I'm going to show you where I've come from on this world. I brought my own world with me. And you can give me some encouragement if you like, you know. Say, come on, come on! Okay. Yeah. Okay. Come on! Right, we did it. Now, last time I came, we left a roof. And this time I'd like to give something to the school, because it's a school that's very close to my heart. and I'll always remember it. So I want you to have my globe. This has been with me round the world and this far down the world. I think it'd be very nice if you have it here. Would you like this for your school? Yes. It's very useful. You can look at it, you can see the rest of my journey, and you can also play football with it. So there you are. That's right. Play. Oh. It's in my world. And this way. Be careful of the wall. I may have left the world behind in Lerata, but I'm also about to leave behind hundreds of miles of dusty dirt track. Where the good road begins, so does old colonial Africa, clustered round Mount Kenya, 17,000 feet high and bang on our halfway mark.
The equator divides the world into two hemispheres. This is the northern hemisphere and this is the southern hemisphere. If you drain a sink when you are on the northern side of the equator and you wash the water as it drains, you will see that the water always rotates clockwise. This phenomenon is caused by the rotation of the Earth. The effect becomes stronger according to how far you move to the north or to the south, and becomes weaker according to how close you go towards the line. So that's why we have to give some distance from the equator so that the rotation can be noticeable.
This is known as the Coriolis effect, and Peter Mukiri has given this same lecture every day for the last 6 years. It's delivered in the burnt-out shell of an old hotel. The equator used to run through the middle of the bar. I bet they were always floating matchsticks in their beer.
So this changes to counterclockwise, indicating that now we are on the southern hemisphere. So now we are right on the equator, and as we drain the water, you'll see there'll be no rotation. It just drains straight down, and that's how we prove that we are right on the equator.
It does work. Nairobi is the centre of the safari business. Safari is a Swahili word meaning journey. Now it's come to mean a certain type of journey where animals meet tourists and vice versa. And a highly competitive business it is too. Hello. Jumbo. I'm going on safari for a few days, and I've been told that if I come to your shop called Pro,
yes,
I'll get a free I Love Kenya sticker with my safari gear.
Definitely.
Okay. So what do I need? What is safari gear?
You start from trousers, shirts, jackets, shoes, socks, everything.
So it's kind of everything?
Yes.
Bring your own underwear.
No, we got that as
well.
Got that as well? In khaki.
Yeah. Well...
You want to start with the jackets?
Sure, yeah. Absolutely.
This is called a photojournalist vest.
Yes. Oh,
okay. The pockets are basically there to put film, extra films.
Whiskey flask there.
Yeah.
Gin there. Oh, that's
fun,
isn't it? Yeah.
This is camouflage.
Yeah.
We used to have the original camouflage, but then the government banned it because of the army and the air force.
Oh, people getting muddled up with soldiers as well. Yeah.
This is called a zip-off trouser. It's got a zip there. You remove it and you can make it into shorts.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yes.
It's multi-purpose.
Yeah.
And there's this.
I rather like. What's the show me this one? Yeah.
There's this design which has got the map of Kenya on it.
Oh yes. So it's a map as well. You have to find your way around. It looks very much like the Out of Africa style.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And even the uniforms in that movie, we did them.
Did you?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
only thing wrong is the hat.
From Nairobi, we descend the eastern rim of the Great Rift Valley, a dramatic 2,000-mile split in the Earth's crust, running the length of East Africa. Wildlife thrives on the valley floor, but we all have one eye on the weather. It looks as if the rains have broken early. Maybe this is why it all looks green and cosy, like Surrey with hippos. In fact, it's the Mara River in Kenya's Masai Mara National Park. Abercrombie and Kent have valuable camping rights here. Their vehicles, bogged down by rain on the way, have only just arrived. This is the old-fashioned way to see wild animals. No hotels or lodges, just simple tents and canvas showers. It's basic, authentic, and terribly expensive. The team that brought me down from the Ethiopian border are looking after me here as well. Kalalui, the driver, and Wendy, who describes herself as an old colonial hand. Today they're joined by a few extra helpers.
Okay. Patrick? Yes, Palin?
Yeah.
Patrick, the maitre de camp, has safaried with Hemingway, Marshal Tito, and Prince Charles. This is clearly going to be unlike any other camping holiday I've ever been on. Thank God.
There's a light here. Drink water, matchbox. You can find a washing towel.
Fine.
And everything is, you can have your washing water here.
Outside bathroom?
No, just to wash your hands.
Oh, I see.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the jacuzzi is already full. As we're going to be here a day or two, I think I'd better go and introduce myself. You know, I swear they can understand every word I say. And there's something about their expressions which makes me feel that I know what they're saying too. Oh no, not another film crew. Safari life starts early. By the time the sun rises over the Masai Mara, the animal spotter must be in uniform and on the move. With all the precision of a military operation, Kalalui, my driver, and Wendy, my guide, stalk their prey. There, beneath a tree, twin symbols of the British Empire, watching the world go by.
These two fairer ones, this one and that one over there, are obviously brothers, and they've probably been just kicked out of the pride about 6 months ago, and they've joined up with this older male, because they won't mature until they're about 5 years old.
So are they learning from the older male?
Yeah.
Is he sort of going to teach them?
Hopefully he's going to teach them how to behave and how to become real men.
Lie down all day. Is this how they spend their day?
This is how they spend their day. Later on in the afternoon they might peruse the menu, and they generally kill after dark.
life isn't quite as relaxed for the vegetarians. They have to eat little and often.
Now, he's a fairly young male. The old males have a very much higher, noblier bump on his forehead. So he's quite a young man. Now you can understand how they keep all these trees cropped.
Yes.
These two sort of almost practicing necking. That's the way they fight for dominance. They call it necking. They sort of stand hip to hip and swing their necks into each other.
Who will go for giraffe? What predator will go for giraffe?
Lion. Leopard don't touch giraffe.
Wonderful.
You're doing it the wrong way, kids. Not supposed to hit them up the backside.
Watching other creatures' lives tends to make you forget your own. But where on a Kenyan game reserve does a human being find a bite to eat? A&K Safaris has the answer.
Why is it all the different colours?
The Out of Africa breakfast.
Coffee, please.
Coffee and croissants on the top of the Olololo escarpment, where Robert Redford was once buried.
Can I have coffee, please?
Green is
the burnt bit, yes.
How so? How's it green?
Because we've had a little bit of rain. So what they do before the rain comes is they burn extensively to burn all that rank stuff and get rid of it. And then, of course, as soon as the rain comes, all this green grass pops up. Oh, yes, please. Thank you very much.
Why is the Masai Mara unique? What makes it special?
Well, what's unique about Mara, I suppose, is it's just an extension of the Serengeti. Just because there's a border between, that's why they've named it differently. Masai Mara being spotted or dotted, and the Serengeti, which is the correct name for the Serengeti, means wide, empty place.
Was it anywhere fenced at all as a park?
No. It's completely open, and the animals, of course, don't know anything about borders, and they just pop in and out as they want, like the migration.
Yeah.
While we have our scrambled egg and bacon, the zebra and antelope have their grass. And the cheetah have their zebra and antelope. Lower down the food chain, storks and vultures have their own Out of Africa breakfast. The heavens open, and the Masai Mara turns to impassable mud. We've nothing to do but sit and wait and listen to the sound of smug hippos. Next morning, we set out to see Kenya from a different angle, in two of the largest hot air balloons in the world. Each one stands 90 feet high and carries a dozen people.
You've been ballooning before?
Most of my basket are American.
Okay, and you went ballooning?
Palm Springs.
Aspen. California.
Aspen, Colorado.
Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah. The pilot is incorrigibly British.
Will we clear the other balloon or not? What do you think?
Nice start.
Balloon in the tree ahead of us.
It's a grey, gloomy dawn. As we rise above the Mara River, the first doubts begin to creep in.
We see a lot of game usually.
Yes, we're really just into the fight. You know, there's a lot of water back ahead of us.
The rare appearance of any animal has an electrifying effect on the basket.
So, what do you think of it so far?
Love it.
We're having fun.
Yes, love it.
Absolutely incredible.
So I'm gaining a little bit of height, and then we can go a little while without putting the burn on.
But my spirits, like my hat, are sagging a bit this morning. It's more like a November day in Manchester. I could do with some of the pilot's enthusiasm.
How long have you been ballooning here, Joe?
I came here in 1983. I came for 3 months. I've now been here 8 years and 3 months. It's about 2,000 champagne breakfasts.
How did you start ballooning, though? Were you a pilot already?
No, I started just as purely as a hobby. And then a few months later, I managed to join a balloon syndicate.
What's the training for this? How long do you have to, how many hours do you have to have flown before you're a pilot, something like this?
Well, here we need a minimum of 300 hours as P1, pilot in charge, before we can actually take anybody. We've got very big balloons. It's one of the world's top balloon operations, so we can afford to be a bit choosy about our pilots.
Why do you have the biggest balloons in the world here? Is there any
Because
particular
conditions are good enough and the experience is good enough to actually fly these things.
As the balloons go down, the sun at last breaks through and the planes come to life.
Do you ever see cubs any smaller than that on the moon?
No, you don't see them very often. In fact, these are the first cubs I've seen this year, and it's already October. Now that little one has followed Mummy, the other 3 are down there.
What does that mean? That one's weaker or stronger?
That one is a strong one, he's a dominant one.
Where?
Could be a male. Definitely when he gets to 6 or 8 months, he's the one that's going to show off for the tourists.
I think the two on the hill.
Look, they're going down now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You're going the wrong way, kids. They're so cute, but one of them is very runty, I think. That small one was obviously the one that tried to get up the wrong way. Now she may be going to hide them.
Yeah.
No, maybe she's not.
She feels pretty secure there.
Yeah.
She's leaving them to their own devices. So she's now with the 3. Is she just going to leave that one behind?
No, I hope not.
No, she's going back. She's turning back.
Yeah.
They're all going off very purposefully.
Maybe she's got to look for the other one.
It's rather a relief, I thought, from what you were saying. It's the weak ones you just leave it behind.
Yeah, very often that's what happens to the runt of the litter. Oh,
Yeah, she's found. That's right. She's picking up.
isn't that great? I love the way he keeps his feet up, doesn't let his feet drag on the ground.
He looks absolutely as though he's just enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
She's dropped. Very summery.
Plop.
Extraordinary. Learning trunk technique here.
Yeah, look at them. So
Little one,
cute.
still very close to Mum. Is that because we're here, or is that the way
Yes,
they normally travel?
They normally travel like
It's a
that.
good pair of tusks.
Now, babies suffer terribly from sunstroke. They always have to be under Mummy's tummy.
A mud bath?
Wonderful to watch them bathing. And in the dry weather, if they find a pool and they bath, then they seem to dust themselves down with earth. This is probably to protect their hide and maybe to get rid of parasites. Look, see, he's washing behind its ear.
Yeah.
And now he's rubbing his eye.
Yeah.
It's great.
Doesn't seem to be any water there. I mean, is it just,
There's a little
it's really
puddle.
swamp.
Yeah, just a little puddle. That's lovely. So funny to see them do that, isn't it? Look, oh. Oh, bliss.
The animals are constantly on the move. These wildebeest are returning south in their millions on their annual migration. The skill of the safari driver is to know where they are and why. In Kabagiri and Kalalui, we have two of the best.
How old do you have to be to drive in Kenya?
You have to be 24 years to drive a vehicle.
Really?
Yes.
So that includes private car?
Yes, everyone must be 24 years.
How old are you?
Now I'm 33 years now.
Can I ask how old you are?
Me?
Kalalui, yes. You don't have to answer, I just, you know.
What do you think?
I think in your early 40s.
More than 40, my friends.
More than 40, well.
Yes.
50?
Yes, nearly.
Nearly 50?
Yes.
Well, all right. 50,
more than 50?
52?
Yeah, near to catch.
Am I within 5 years?
I don't know how old me, because my father is not in the school, and he's not arrived when I born. So I thinking I am 53 or 54, between there. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 48.
48?
Yeah.
Oh, you are very young.
Thank you. But I don't know as much as you know. Kalalui, this morning when we were going through a herd of wildebeest and zebra, for the first time I heard a sound of zebras. It's a very strange noise. What is it? What is that sound zebra make?
I hear the zebras make noise. That is a zebra.
When do they make that noise? When they're frightened?
It's because they are scared, or sometimes they are warning.
What about, I bet you can't do hippo. There's a lot of... They do that all night for 3 nights at the camp.
Always.
I kept thinking it was me.
Yeah.
I kept going to the toilet thinking it was me, but you know...
You know the toilet in the water. You hear that?
What?
You hear that?
Yeah. Okay, last one. Thompson's gazelle. You don't want to do it? Oh. What do you? Is that really what they do?
Maybe I'm not much out, but they make noise about warning, or they're calling the baby.
What is it again? Not a very nice way to carry on, is it? No wonder they have any friends. No wonder they get eaten.
Like the wildebeest, we too must keep moving. Lake Victoria blocks our way west, and to regain 30 degrees, we must first make for Dodoma in Tanzania. From there, we hope to pick up a train to the shores of Lake Tanganyika. It's another 1,000 miles of detour. The sight of the Kenyan border post offers encouragement and also a reminder that travel in Africa can't be rushed. Right on the border, we find a group of migrants. They're a long way from their territory.
So where are you all from?
Australia.
New Zealand?
New Zealand.
And where are you going? Well, we're not going anywhere at the moment.
It's
Where
fine,
do you
going
reckon you're
home.
going to go?
Hopefully down to Harare.
We get there.
In 5 weeks.
In this?
Yeah. We hope. We've been push starting for the last 4 days, so.
Do you have all your food with you and provisions?
Yep. The stale bread.
All the markets on
It's going to be a lot staler by the time you get to Harare. So where did you start from?
Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Is this a big is this holiday of a lifetime? Or?
Yeah. Adventure.
The driver looks absolutely shattered. How are you? Yeah, not much to drive. What is this? Is this pretty ancient vehicle?
It is. It's 1959 MAN German.
Yeah.
Built for the Russian front, really.
Yeah.
Don't know how they ever got as far as they did in the bloody thing. Yeah.
So are you the tour? Are you the sort of guide or?
Yeah, me and Dave.
Yeah. Dave? What's Dave? Who's Dave? Sorry, I've been away from home a long time. I've forgotten about sexual differences. Yeah. Hi, Dave. Well, yes. Well, if we can be of help, we will.
Great.
But,
Well, that's
I
really
don't know.
I think we've got it going now. I think we've all connected
As long as
up.
I don't have to push.
Oh, in fact, that's exactly what you have to do.
Really? All hands, okay.
All hands. Okay, gang.
Just this once. Okay?
As the German army pushes forward, so do we, into country number 11. I'm immediately endeared to Tanzania. It's the only country I've ever been to with its name on the gate. At the border, there's little traffic, but a lot of bureaucracy. It takes 4 hours to complete our paperwork. Wendy has stayed behind in Kenya, but Kalalui and his friends have agreed to take us on to the railhead at Dodoma. Our route now takes us across one of the richest areas of wildlife in Africa, the Serengeti National Park. It's lunchtime in the Serengeti, and wildebeest is dish of the day. The lions have first choice. Vultures wait to help with the washing up. It looks gruesome, but at least these lions are free to hunt. Before the national park was created, anyone with a license could have shot them. This is epic country. The Rift Valley is studded with extinct volcanoes. Here, the earliest evidence of human life has been found. Masai cowbells have been described as the sound of Africa. Here, cattle pass along the northern slopes of what is undoubtedly one of the sights of Africa, a volcanic crater 12.5 miles wide.
Well, that is incredible. It's one of those childhood dreams. Ever since I could speak my first words of Swahili, I had to go to the Ngorongoro crater. And here I am at the Ngorongoro crater, and now I'm here. I don't really know what to do with it. I mean, it taxes the superlative. Stupendous, amazing, fantastic. You can't take it home, you've just got to leave it here, so have a look at it. Make up your own word for the Ngorongoro crater experience.
Not for the first time, I want to stop the journey. To stay here, surrounded by all these splendours, seems ridiculous to say I've a train to catch. After driving every hour of daylight on roads of dust and stones, we reach the capital. Few more exhausted travellers can ever have checked in at the railway hotel Dodoma. There's nothing really wrong with the railway hotel. My mosquito net had holes in it, admittedly only 3 of them, each big enough for a small pterodactyl to get through, but there was plenty of art and even live music. It's certainly very handy for the shops. Dodoma city centre is full of things to see. A road sign reminds us that in Swahili, pole pole means go slowly, as if we didn't know. The buildings of Dodoma say a lot about the country. This is the Tanzanian parliament, modest and accessible. But dwarfing everything else are the Christian cathedrals. Religion seems to be the growth industry here, one of the few forms of foreign investment the government has no qualms about. Our train should have left Dar es Salaam 24 hours ago. It hasn't turned up and no one seems to know where it is. For us, it's an absolutely vital connection. From here, we make a sharp change of course, back to 30 degrees, to Lake Tanganyika and the heart of Africa. As soon as the train comes to a halt, activity erupts all around it. The station becomes a marketplace. It's hot, noisy and confusing. Not the best time to leave friends behind.
Cheers, Kapagiri. Thank you very, very much.
You've been
for
so
everything,
good.
for driving us and putting up with us. And it was a long way you came with us, and thanks very much.
Yes, we know,
Really
but
great.
we wish you a very good journey.
Okay, and
have
you
a good time.
Find
sir.
a nice girl.
Oh,
Settle
yes,
down.
we'll find it.
Hey, Hallelujah.
Okay.
Great. Thanks ever so much.
You are welcome.
Thank you for everything.
Sorry for bumping, my friend.
The bumping, well,
Yeah.
wasn't your fault. You just tell the
You know,
road menders.
sometimes
I
the
got
road
something
is-
for you, because he said you wanted a map.
Yes, thank you very
So
much.
have that. I'll find that. I'll ask. Someone will know
Thank
the
you.
way. Yeah, bye, Nesmus. All right. Thanks very much. Thanks again.
Our fourth driver has just been to hospital with malaria.
You okay now?
Okay, yeah, I'm very okay.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks very much indeed.
See you.
Yeah, we'll miss you. We'll miss you.
Have a
Okay.
good time.
Safe journey back. Mind the bumps.
Bye again.
Bye. There's a whole unit luggage in here. That's why I can't get on board. A unit luggage, 4 chickens and 3 ladies from the Christian mission.
Dodoma slips away. The bush closes in, dry and empty, apart from the odd cathedral. The restaurant car's packed. These travellers are the elite of Tanzania. Civil servants, doctors, footballers.
What team do you play for?
Now,
Yeah.
CDA.
Is your team, do you have division, like a sort of...
Second division.
Your second division? Yeah. Hey, well. That's a mean-looking fish. What is this fish, do you think?
I don't know.
Just eat it and see.
He tells me the initials of his team, CDA, stand for Capital Development Authority. Not an easy one to chant on the terraces. The fish is quite edible, if you've a degree in microsurgery.
The tea for a minute, but there you go. Do you serve tea? Chai? No chai? Harold. Harold? Do me some tea? He's going to get some? Very good. Okay. Thank you. 1 tea, no sugar. That's lovely. Thank you very much.
I find myself pleasantly surprised by a choice of toilet facilities.
Lavatory high type now. It's my type for European. Nothing there. It's not there. Not a single thing. Vanished. Oh, have a look. Not the sausage. Well, the low tide for me. Always prefer the low tide.
"18 hours into the journey, and I'm still looking for the high type. The train, like most African trains, is not time away from life at home, but a continuation of life at home. At one point in our journey, a baby girl is born in the restaurant. Certainly the best thing they produce. The train is always full because it's the only way of crossing the country. There are no roads here, only hundreds of miles of swamp. At every station, however remote, our arrival is a major event and a major boost for local business. Boys click money at me. Men click mouse traps.
Yeah, leave her from my room.
Somewhere in all this, you could probably find a pair of cup final tickets. Drawing very close to the centre of Africa. Not at all how I imagined it. Where are the jungles and the drums and the shadows flitting amongst the trees? Lake Tanganyika, a place of romance and mystery, could well be a Scottish loch, give or take the odd banana tree. Perhaps darkest Africa was just a state of mind. Journey's end, 27 hours after leaving Dodoma, and I never did find the high type, or a water supply, or a fan that worked. In fact, I feel like a used paper bag. But it's not so much what I feel like as where I am that's important.
Well, this is a major milestone. This is Kigoma. So we've completed a huge month-long sort of arc round from Khartoum to get us back to 30 degrees. We're on 30 degrees. A little bit late, but not late enough to miss the boat, which leaves very soon. That will take me down on the next stage of the journey south at last, a long way south, down Lake Tanganyika to Mpulungu.
Kigoma is a surprise. It's endowed with some fine buildings, built by German colonialists who saw it as an up-country health spa. The railway hotel, where the clear waters of Lake Tanganyika stretch across to the mountains of Zaire, looks healthy enough. Sadly, it isn't. This corner of paradise is serious mosquito country.
There. My wedding day. There we are, right. Now let's try this. Oh, that's more like it. Oh dear. I quite enjoy getting bitten while I'm doing this. That's good. Now then. That's not bad. Hey, I did it. It's wonderful. Gone. Crap.
Next morning, I learn a few sober realities of life from our taxi driver. He also turns out to be the local doctor.
The chances of you are getting serious malaria when you come to this area are higher because you don't have any immunity to malaria because you have not been exposed to malaria. So the exposure will prevent me, who is indigenous to this place, from getting malaria, but you will be at great risk of getting malaria, and if we both get malaria anyway, you will suffer, you stand a chance of suffering a more severe malaria than I would stand to suffer for the same number of parasites in the blood.
Cut off from the rest of the country, except by boat and train, Kigoma has developed the easygoing cosmopolitan atmosphere of a port. Its cultural connections are as close to Zaire and Burundi as they are to the rest of Tanzania, and perhaps closest of all to America. The trade carried on around Lake Tanganyika has not always been honourable. A little way down the coast is Ujiji, once the slave capital of Central Africa. It was the horrors of slavery that brought Livingstone here 120 years ago.
How far is it to Ujiji?
Ujiji. Near the Bangwe.
How many hours?
1 hour.
What is at Ujiji? Is it a town?
Ujiji is a town. They want in the village of Livingstone.
was on this spot under a mango tree 120 years ago that Livingstone and Stanley made the historic meeting. They were the only two white men within 1,000 miles of here. They came up to each other, doffed their hats, and the following conversation took place, and I quote, Stanley, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Livingstone, yes. Stanley, Doctor, I thank God I have been permitted to shake hands with you. Livingstone, I feel thankful that I'm here to welcome you. It's amazing that such a boring conversation could be remembered for more than a year, let alone 120 years, and Stanley was apparently quite embarrassed that all the fine words he had to say failed him at the vital moment. Happens to all of us. Can't always think of anything to... Doctor, I thank God I've been permitted to shake hands with you. Yes. Resume my excellent doctor. For those who want more, there is a small museum. Here the great moment has been captured in papier-mâché by a local schoolmaster. That's about all there is in the museum at Ujiji. The streets of the town are probably not much changed from Livingstone's day, except the slave masters have gone. Now it's a town of small businesses, Kakazinga shoe polishers, Vatican hardware supplies, and my favourite, super volcano tailoring. Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world, stretches 400 miles down the Rift Valley. We shall travel to its southernmost point, Umpalungu in Zambia. It'll be a slow journey. The motor vessel Liemba stops everywhere. It's the only link between the towns and villages along the Tanzanian shoreline. As we pull out, we pass a barge packed with refugees from the violence in Zaire. They wait patiently in the heat of the day, hoping the Tanzanian authorities will accept them. The Liemba was built here by the Germans in 1914. At the end of the First World War, they scuttled her. She spent years on the bottom of the lake before being raised by the British and put back into service. She's said to be the oldest working ferry in the world. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a first-class cabin. The Liemba makes about 9 knots, but you can't really complain. Ships half her age would have gone to the knacker's yard long ago. Her captain is called Beatus T. Mgamba. What are the problems of being captain of such an old ship?
The problem I can feel in this ship is how to maneuver the ship. The ship is big, but the engines are very small. So the horsepower is very small, so maneuvering is a little bit difficult.
What about your navigation on Lake Tanganyika? Is that easy?
Yes, through experience is okay. There is no problem, but the lake is not yet surveyed, so it needs experience, familiarization.
Do you not have a chart?
We don't have a chart yet.
Is that why you cannot go in close to any of the ports?
Yes, that is the only reason, because getting closer to the land, maybe we can get some problems because the lake is not surveyed.
The Liemba makes 15 stops, but it doesn't go to the villages. The villagers come to the Liemba. Next morning, I give up trying to make my cabin work and go to wash in the first-class bathroom. Here I can enjoy the unashamed luxury of running water. Unstoppable running water. The facilities may leave something to be desired, but the on-voyage entertainment cannot be faulted. Today we're attacked by a wedding party. Getting on and off is once again a scene of controlled frenzy, which makes London commuters look like Zen Buddhists. Guests wave goodbye to each other and then offer traditional thanks to the wedding photographer.
Catching the ancient and venerable vessel, the Liemba, may prove to have been the most important connection that we've made so far, because it was the only way out of Kigoma, and if we'd missed it, we'd have been stuck there for another week.
And also it kind of marks the end of perhaps the most difficult countries to travel through in Africa. And we're now on course to go through Zambia, Zimbabwe and South Africa to arrive at our next most important deadline, which is December the 3rd, the sailing of the Agulhas for the Antarctic from Cape Town. The only slightly ominous thing is that we have places on the Agulhas, which is a scientific supply ship. They're not yet confirmed, and we haven't heard whether they've been confirmed or not. That could be because we've been in the back of beyond, and the communications are very difficult in Tanzania. So hopefully we'll hear in Zambia that we've got those places, and we're all set for the South Pole. As we approach the green and welcoming shores of Zambia, I have the distinct feeling that we have been through the worst. I think that must be about the 4th time I've felt that. In the front room of a bungalow in Umpalungu, Zambia, a man believed to be a murderer is undergoing ritual interrogation. His interrogator, dressed in red, calls himself Dr. Bayela, the healer. Others call him a witch doctor. This bizarre ceremony, an often disturbing combination of exorcism, magic show and histrionics, is my introduction to life in one of the more advanced ex-British colonies of southern Africa. Dr. Bayela has only recently arrived in town from Zaire. He's already caught a thief. He's a big attraction. He agrees to give me a private consultation, in public. Have I any evil spirits in me?
Hapo unakaa baba zetu tunaangalia una kimvuli.
You have got a shadow. Here, you are here. As you are here, you have got a shadow, and that shadow will tell him that this shadow is a right shadow, an evil shadow.
I have an evil shadow.
Ile kimvuli is it iko mbaya kizo.
Ile kimvuli tuangalia kibaya.
It's a bad shadow.
What form does the shadow take?
Sababu tunaangalia baba zetu kilala, tunaangalia na mufu ushamzima.
So yes, I can see a certain shadow of a woman. I don't know if she is.
What does she look like?
Huyo mama kisi anaonekana ni mnene, mfupi, sio mrefu.
It's not tall. It's fat a bit.
I have a long journey ahead of me. Is this shadow dangerous for me? With his mesmerizing high-pitched voice and lazy, bloodshot, unavoidable eyes, Dr. Bayela is certainly charismatic. But should I believe a word he says?
This shadow will put a very bad shadow, which you can be rich, but sometimes that thing can drive out all your wealth.
Can drive out?
All your richness.
All my?
Your money, all the wealth.
Oh,
yes.
I see. Can drive out all my money.
Yes, it's just like stealing.
Wow. When he tells me I'm bewitched by an evil shadow who will drive out all my money, it hardly matters what I believe. Everyone else round here believes him. Can he help me?
Baba zetu tunaweza kusaidia, midawa ziko tayari.
Yes, of course, he can help with medicine, but it won't be on the national health. What is in the medicine?
Dawa za kuoga tu, si ya kunywa.
On the medicine of washing to wash up in the medicine, not to drink.
I wash in the medicine.
Yes.
Half expecting him to produce a live chicken, I'm rather relieved to be prescribed a piece of tree bark, one of his less menacing props.
It's to wash out your body, your evil spirits in your body.
I'm not quite sure how I'm going to wash with it. Maybe I should just clout the evil spirits. Thank you. There is thankfully another side to life in Umpalungu, the refreshingly unspellbinding world of fish. 100 tons of Lake Tanganyika's finest is shipped south every month. It's the direction we must go as well. All our efforts to date have been geared towards reaching the tip of Africa in time to catch a supply ship called the Agulhas, which makes the one and only yearly crossing to Antarctica from Cape Town. If we fail to make this connection, we fail to reach the pole. I take the first fish lorry out of town. I feel as weary now as at any time on the journey. Could be the sticky heat, the lingering memory of Dr. Biella, or simply the realization of the distance we still have ahead of us. Even the news seems ominous. In the country's first democratic election for 18 years, Kenneth Kaunda has been rejected by the people he's ruled since independence.
I tried to do my very best for Zambia, its people, and mankind as a whole. If my very best did not completely meet the aspirations of all those I tried to serve, this was never out of lack of try. This is the nature of multi-party politics. You win some and you lose some elections.
Not everybody's as gloomy as me and Kenneth Kaunda. For the supporters of Frederick Chiluba and the movement for multi-party democracy, the slogan has worked. Their hour has come.
It is our duty to build this vibrant Zambia.
Unfortunately, they're under the impression that the coming of their hour is being witnessed by a crack BBC news crew. I suppose it's too late to tell them these pictures won't be on for a year. Well, have a beer. It was great. Congratulations if you're a voter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep the hour going.
Amazing. To the Third Republic. Is that what they're calling it today, the Third Republic?
Yeah.
Come on. Takes me back.
Yeah.
I still don't really understand the politics. 200 miles south from Umpalungu, my already confused system experiences violent culture shock. This is Shiwa, an English country estate in the heart of the Zambian bush. It's owned and run by John Harvey and his wife Lorna. They've agreed to put us up on our way south. When I look out of the windows, I'm not sure if I'm really here at all. It's just like a tired traveller's dream. Everything you think you miss about Britain. But the dream was here long before me. It belonged to Lorna's father, Sir Stuart Gore Brown. He first came to this hilltop 80 years ago. He now lies buried here, at the heart of the estate he created. On his grave is the name the local people gave him, Chipambele.
It means rhinoceros, which was his African name. And a rhino charges and then actually stops. And he was just like that, you know, evil-tempered man. And he'd get very angry with you, and then 5 minutes later he'd be asking for a loan. And our children are rather like that.
Here he wanted to create
the type of life, recreate the type of life that he'd known in England, a big country house, a big estate, himself as a squire.
His paternalist ambitions were not only fulfilled, they still shaped life at Shiwa. Every Sunday, the wives and children of the estate put on their best clothes and processed to the gore-brown family chapel. There are always two services, one Catholic, one Protestant, according presumably to which missionary got there first. This is the Catholic service, and they're singing the Gloria. Sir Stuart's military background still casts a long shadow over Shiwa. This is the muster ceremony. Every morning at 7 o'clock, the estate workers are summoned for roll call. Each man is then brought forward and given his daily tasks. The man who may one day inherit Sir Stuart's dream is John Harvey's son David. He learnt his farming in England. Conditions are much tougher here. As a precaution against ticks that cause fatal disease, Shiwa's cattle must be put through the dip once every week. There are 2,000 of them. The process takes 3 days. A 150% inflation rate is the last in a series of misfortunes that have beset the Harveys. They've always had to be ingenious, but the estate is littered with ghosts of good ideas at the time. This was an essential oils factory supplying perfumes to Europe. Since then, they've tried timber, eggs, chickens. Nothing lasted for long. John won't give up. His latest hope is a safari company.
If you look around Zambia, you will find that people like David, my son, are staying here. His 2 brothers are here. There are lots of people of that age group, trained overseas, educated in England and the States, who are coming back here because they feel that there is a life to be made here and that they can make enough money to live happily.
Do you think you will one day retire, or will you always be running Shiwa?
Well, that's, I remember I told you that I was a soldier, and there is a saying that old soldiers fade away. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen. They never die, They never die. I think that's going to happen to me.
Every evening at sundown, the flag bearing the Harvey coat of arms is lowered, and dinner is taken in the traditional British style. But the talk is of Africa.
I was taken to see a witch doctor in Bulungu, who told me that I had an evil shadow, and indeed gave me something to get rid of this. And I thought at the time, well, this is a joke, it's a fraud. But ever since then, the last sort of couple of days, especially if I didn't feel very well the night afterwards, I thought, is there anything in it? I mean, what do you think it is?
I think there is a darker side. I know of an incident in December where we have another farm of a farmer losing a motor, having a motor stolen, and he ended up he got very frustrated and ended up bringing in the witch doctor. And he lined all his staff up, and the witch doctor tapped each member of staff on the shoulder with a stick, both shoulders, and walked down this line. And eventually he came to a man, and he tapped him on the shoulder and tore a strip of skin off him. This man then duly broke down and cried and admitted that he was the man who was involved stealing the motor.
Would you use a witch doctor?
Yes, I think I would, yeah, definitely.
Since I left Shiwa, another chapter has been written in its brave but blighted history. John and Lorna Harvey were attacked and killed in southern Zambia 6 months later. At the nearest railhead, we pick up a southbound train in the company of a family travelling with everything and the kitchen sink.
Ladies and gentlemen, express number 1 conveys passengers from Antarctica to Livingston.
I'm glad to be off the roads and back on trains, where, however briefly, you do run the risk of meeting people.
What were you putting on board? There seemed to be your whole house going in onto the train.
My son is moving to Livingston. It's my son's household.
And what did he have? Bed there, and bed and chairs and tables. Has he taken everything from his home here?
Everything.
There's no problem finding a seat in the dining car. This, it turns out, is due to a complete lack of anything on which to dine. Everything except the tablecloth is off. There can't be many borders as emphatic as that between Zambia and Zimbabwe at the Victoria Falls. The meandering river Zambezi, which marks the frontier, plunges 300 feet over cliffs a mile long. The column of spray thrown up can be seen 20 miles away. It drew Livingstone here in 1855, the first white man to set eyes on the falls. At the bottom of the gorge, the river is flung about in a series of tortuous rapids. There are people crazy enough to take boats over these rapids, and what's more, people daft enough to pay them to do it.
Now let's try to make it easy for you guys to know which side is going first onto the downstream side, okay? Then the easy way I'll do it for you is to call for that side which is going first onto the downstream side. When I say crash forward, I mean the first 3 go to crashing, and 2 go right up on top body crashing. Remember, hang on.
This is the wonderful world of whitewater rafting. Alex, our driver and guide, may smile a lot and look like Superman, but he's as tightly wrapped in a life jacket as the rest of us.
That's it, right? All right, so when I call for a go, turn around and face onto the wave side, right? Okay, you guys all set? Go! Come on back!
One of us has fallen overboard already. This doesn't bode at all well.
Yep. You ready for some whitewater action? Just had some. All right, let's go rafting then.
As we near the point of no return, I have the extraordinary sensation that my stomach is several yards behind me. For those interested in technicalities, Nigel's camera is strapped to his shoulder like a parrot, and my personal microphone is waterproofed inside 3 condoms.
See a drop in the water. There we go, a bit more.
Well, I'm still here, Alec. Haven't got rid of me yet. Well, there's harder ones to come.
Well, starting from rapid number 4 will be like beginning of some real good white water. Rapid number 4 will be a class 4 rapid. And the next after that will be rapid number 5, which is a class 5 rapid. And then from there on, we're running in some really, really good class 4 and 5 white water.
Well, what's the class system of rapids then? How much, what does it go up to? What's the worst?
The highest class you can run in the raft is a class 5.
The highest you can run in the raft, so we're going on for the highest.
We are going for the highest. Okay, the base is known as one of the cleanest white water you can get in the whole world. So we're doing some real white water out here.
Hardly time for fear, though at this point I distinctly remember something I want to change in my will. The joy of survival is tempered only by the knowledge that there's worse to come. The final irony is that in sheer exhilaration at surviving the last of 9 rapids, I swim for shore, hit a rock, and crack a rib. Next day I make my way painfully slowly across the Zambezi Bridge, trying to ignore any connection between witch doctors and whitewater rafting. But if I thought I did something silly yesterday, watch this. A man throws himself into the 300-foot gorge. And back again. For fun. This is the comparatively new sport of bungee jumping. Makes whitewater rafting look like a day at the paddling pool. And it's popular. So popular that people are actually queuing to jump off. If there's something about the Zambezi Gorge that attracts loonies, then there's something about Zambia that has attracted misfortune. Apart from cracking a rib, I've also had a suitcase stolen and one of our crew has had malaria. Last night I finally tried Dr. Baela's medicine. Perhaps it was a little too late. Anyway, the end of the bridge marks somewhere new. Zimbabwe. At first, Zimbabwe looks old-fashioned, but compared to Zambia, it's a land of progress. Blessed with huge reserves of coal, they've kept a lot of their old steam engines, and not just for nostalgia. Having said that, Bulawayo Station does take me back a few years. Those far-off days before whitewater rafting, when climbing on the footplate at Sheffield Midland was the ultimate excitement. With a cracked rib, it's the ultimate test of the unreformed train spotter.
How old is this locomotive?
This must be about 30 years old.
30 years old?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
About the same age as a loco?
Almost the same age.
Why did you become an engine driver?
Because I've always liked trains. I used to like trains when I was young.
The railways of southern Africa were once described as the sinews of empire. The man who built them was Cecil John Rhodes. His mixture of megalomania and foresight opened up huge areas of the continent and created a country in his name, Rhodesia. This train, preserved in Bulawayo, proves he put his money where his mouth was.
100 years ago, it was all the rage for anybody who was anybody to have their own railway coach. And as Cecil Rhodes owned a large chunk of southern Africa, he was not to be left out. And this one was made for him by the Pullman Company in America in 1895 and has absolutely everything your African commuter could want. A complete kitchen range and many other delights besides. His own bathroom, complete with enamel bath, bedroom, mahogany panelled, and through here his reception room where he could casually entertain other people who'd made spectacular amounts of money from carving up Africa. But more poignantly, this was also the coach in which he made his last journey. At the age of 49 in 1902, he was brought from Cape Town, where he died, to the place where he had requested to be buried, just outside Bulawayo.
In his will, he wrote, "I admire the grandeur and loneliness of the Matapos Mountains in Rhodesia, and therefore I desire to be buried on the hill which I called the View of the World, in a square to be cut in the rock, covered by a brass plate, with these words thereon, Here lies the remains of Cecil John Rhodes." And here, despite repeated threats by Zimbabwe's rulers to dig him up and send him back to London, Cecil Rhodes, the empire builder, still lies. Rhodesia disappeared over a decade ago after a violent guerrilla war, but the country still feels as English as anywhere I've been on this continent. Bulawayo's streets and parks are all evidence of that most European of concepts, civic pride. The trauma of independence seems to have had little effect on the BBC, the Bulawayo Bowling Club. Membership has dwindled from 400 to 120, but there are still 5 greens to choose from, and Pearl Shepherd, the club secretary, is bullish.
Our youngest member is a boy of about 14, goes to boarding school, so he just plays at school holidays. And our oldest member is that lady you saw on the green there, she's 86. So you get a very representative crowd, people from all walks of life and all ages and everything all come and play ball.
Do you have any black African players?
We don't have any, no. Actually, the Africans are not particularly interested in bowls. All the clubs are open, of course. The only black bowlers we've got in Bulawayo belong to the Blind Bowlers Association, and they have been brought into the game through the association that helps people who are partially sighted or blind, and they encourage them to play bowls. It's really quite fantastic to see some of them play because they might not be able to see anything, and yet they call out instructions to them, and they sometimes play incredible bowls.
One place no member of the BBC would be seen dead is the gloriously named Umshitshimbo Beer Garden. The Umshitshimbo Garden is little more than a concrete patch behind a downtown hotel, but it's one of the most popular places in Bulawayo to drink and jive. The music scene is thriving in Zimbabwe, and bands like Southern Freeway, fronted by a South African, Steve Dyer, regularly pack the place out. Low life and high life at the Umshitshimbo. Shots of gin top up the castle lager, and when the band stops, the music is replaced by long public service announcements on the dangers of AIDS. No one listens.
Won't you come back home?
Still, it's the happiest memory I take away from Bulawayo.
Go home. Your mother's calling your name. Wonder would you go home? Your mother's calling your name.
200 miles south of Bulawayo, we reach our last country in Africa, our springboard to Antarctica and the South Pole. On the banks of the Limpopo River, miles of razor wire and steel mesh guard the Republic of South Africa from the rest of the world. Life changes completely. Despite years of sanctions and universal ostracism, Western luxury starts here. Where else in Africa could you rent a white BMW? Country number 14 is undergoing as profound a change as any we've passed through. 4 months before we arrived, apartheid was officially abolished. No one quite knows where South Africa goes next. In the shadow of gold-tinted slag heaps is Johannesburg, the biggest city we've seen since Cairo. Unlike Cairo, Johannesburg is cool, calm and corporate. Retrieving the gold on which their wealth is built leads to spectacular feats of engineering.
Traveling at about 17 meters a second.
17 meters a second. 2 kilometers.
This is Western Deep Levels Mine. It's in the Guinness Book of Records for the deepest penetration of man into the Earth's crust, 2.5 miles. 7,000 men work down here. They're drawn from so many different tribes and countries that a special mining language has been developed. Fanakalo is the Esperanto of the mines. It's taught in what is probably the world's deepest classroom.
Yenalo sa ha. Yenalo sa ha. Yenalo sa ha. Yenalo sa ha. Ini lo. Yenalo sa ha. Yenalo spanehe. Yenalo spanehe.
Yenalo spanehe.
Mushe. Ini lo.
Yenalo spanehe.
Spanehe. Ini lo.
Yenalo spanehe.
Mushe. Spanehe. Okay, mushe.
Armed only with the word for spanner, I'm escorted out of the air-conditioned tunnels to where mining starts to get painful.
Bit dangerous around here.
Where's this water from?
This is from the stope where they're busy drilling. You know, it's drilling water, and we're walking up the strike gully towards the stope itself.
Yeah.
And we'll be going up a ladder way here.
Sure.
Into the area. It's quite hot now, isn't it?
Yeah. Hot and wet.
It's 30 degrees centigrade at the rock face. Crouched in a chamber 4 foot high, the team has been drilling for almost 6 hours. One man operates the drill, one checks the equipment, one directs water to cool the drill. An engineer locates and directs operations into an inch-wide gold-bearing seam. He's the only white man. It takes nearly 4 hours to change shifts, and as the miners check in their lamps, the technicians are gathering at the crucible. It's a very select band that witnesses the final act of the drama.
How can you tell when the gold is coming through?
Okay, if you look through the mask there, you'll see that the gold is now a greeny silvery colour.
Oh yes, changing.
You can see it now coming out through the top of the pot.
Yeah, and
that's how you know where the gold is actually coming out.
Yeah. So how much gold is there actually going to be in this particular smelting?
In this one here, we're probably getting about 3 bars of gold. That's about 80 kilograms of gold.
Can you tell me something? I don't know why you have feather dusters in here. It's a very industrial sort of environment. It's 3 feather dusters. Where are they? Up there. What are they there for?
Well, all the dust in the smelt house could contain some of the gold. So every single spot of dust is collected and put back into the furnace. So nothing is taken outside of the smelt house. Even overalls are put back into the furnace sometimes.
It's not going to give me an internal check, are you?
Back in Johannesburg, I'm made aware of just how long I've been away from home. We left in high summer. Now it's less than a month to the festive season.
Snow, in the bleak
There's nothing like Christmas decorations to provoke a twinge of homesickness. But I console myself that if all goes well, I could get home from the South Pole just in time to start shopping. But Africa has one last and particularly nasty trick in store for us. Back at the hotel, a message is waiting for me. Though it isn't from my favourite witch doctor, it might as well be. I can't quite believe the news, and double-check with our production office in London.
Hello, Mimi? Yeah, it's Michael. Yeah, I've just got your fax. Yeah, and I can't believe it. Is that about the Agulhas? Yes, they have no berths at all? Can you investigate every...
The Agulhas is sailing to Antarctica, but such is the demand from scientists that all places on board have been taken. There is no room for us. While our London office tries every alternative, we can only hope and wait. We decide to spend the day at Soweto. It has a Latin motto, Conjuncte Agamus, let's pull together. I find the place full of surprises. This house, I'm told, boasts the ultimate in Soweto status symbols, a white security guard. Jimmy, my guide, lives round here. He's a man of sharp wit and little sentiment. Despite these signs of affluence, he tells me that in Soweto, BMW still means break my windows.
Jimmy, this looks, to all intents and purposes like the Beverly Hills of Soweto. What sort of people live here?
Well, it's the affluent black people living here, and professional people, businessmen, doctors, lawyers, successful people, hard workers, if I may put them.
Yeah.
These are the people I call people who work for the bank. They don't work in the bank, they work for the bank.
If you have a lot of money, if you make a lot of money in Soweto, do people tend to stay here, or is there a feeling that they want to move?
No, there's a big feeling of people moving. I've been seeing signs recently for sale, simply because the group areas act is over or done with. So it's a question of now economic apartheid. Those who have the money can move with the Joneses. You don't have the money.
Why do they move from Soweto?
Oh, it's a feeling of people tend to look for what they couldn't be given all the time, or what you were prohibited from doing. That's exactly what you want to do. Now that it's open and people feel it's much nicer in the city, in the suburbs, convenient. 3-5 minutes drive from wherever to the city, or buses and transportation.
Transportation is one of the latest ways to make money in Soweto. So serious is the tribal violence on public railways that Sowetans now prefer to fight for a place on a private minibus. There are currently 145,000 of them, and the numbers are rising.
Simply because there's more people.
Soweto was set up in 1933 to house a cheap labour force. Shanty settlements like this one, known as Mandela Village, are the legacy of that decision. These are the families of people who are not wanted, and probably never will be. If you're prepared to leave your family, you could try your luck in one of the hostels. Jimmy doesn't recommend it.
How can you have, 16 men in one room? You have 16 smells of food, this one cooking that, this one doing this, and sometimes people want to rest. You've been working at night time, and the other one has been working during the day, and men in general put together. Yeah, these are the haircut, the barbers, street barbers, money making, of course. As you can see, it's connected electrically from the battery. That's how they get the electricity to do all this.
So that's just someone who's coming off the street to get a bit of work.
Just a bit of work. Work done.
How much do they pay for this, Jimmy?
12 rand to 15 rand per bird. Different hostels have different prices.
Per bed, for a month?
A month.
£3 a month. What sort of wage are they earning? Are these the lowest wage earners here?
Most people in the hostel are low wage earners, but you get quite a few earning roughly 500 rand a month, depending where they're working. Companies they're working for, 500 would be what? About £100 a month.
So there'll be people here earning £100 a month and staying here?
Yeah.
It's much nicer inside than it is out. Outside it's a real tip.
It's a hostel. You can't imagine living between 8 and 1. It's like dormitory style. If you have to spend all your life, this is pretty bad shape.
Before I leave Soweto, I have some visiting to do. It's a sign of the changing times that the Gwangwa family, once good neighbours of ours in London, have, because of their ANC membership, only just been allowed back into the country of their birth. 6 months ago, this visit would never have been possible.
Wrong day. Hey, there you are! Oh, great to see you!
Great to see you!
That's wonderful!
That's right,
me
too!
Hello! And my Lucy?
Right.
Where's my Lucy? Somewhere else?
That's right. Okay, my Lucy. Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Welcome, Michael, to Gwangwa family. You do that for everybody, I know.
Well, no! This is this is they use with that cow dung.
Oh, cow dung, is it?
This is cow dung, and then they all do this. That's the decorations
fresh
that they
cow
do.
Dung, yes.
Fresh cow dung that
we should have done that for you in London, but we couldn't get the cow dung. So I had to come here.
Okay,
Kicking our heels for another day, we join a Saturday afternoon football crowd. Sport is multiracial in South Africa now, but rugby remains the white game and soccer the black game. Today's match is a cup semi-final. Sundowns of Pretoria are taking on Cosmos of Johannesburg. We leave Johannesburg with nothing decided, but at least we leave in style. This is the Blue Train, which runs expensively between Pretoria and Cape Town. I justify it to myself as a reward for all the rough riding we've done through Africa. The Nile Valley Express in Sudan carried 4,000 people. The Blue Train's carrying just 92, and no one's allowed on the roof. The contrast with everything that's gone before is so complete as to be almost unnerving. What on earth does one do with 9 pieces of cutlery? The answer is you order a nice bottle of South African Chardonnay and stop feeling guilty. After all, how many people here have cracked ribs and evil shadows? No one ever gets on, no one ever gets off. In this air-conditioned, double-glazed luxury, I feel a bit like an overfed goldfish, able to observe the outside world from my sumptuous bowl whilst remaining completely detached from it. I should think it could quite easily drive you mad. The last 900 miles of Africa run from Johannesburg across the high veldt and the wide, dry, scrubby plain they call the Karoo to approach the Cape in a scenic firework display of mountains, valleys and vineyards. "7,000 miles and nearly 3 months after entering Port Said, the unmistakable shape of Table Mountain marks the end of Africa. I think Africa's changed me. Until I reached Mpulungu, I was an incurable optimist, but something started to go wrong there. And I've reached Cape Town as an incurable fatalist. What will be, will be. From the top of Table Mountain, you can see the point where the Indian and Atlantic Oceans meet. Beyond that, 2,500 miles over the horizon, is Antarctica. But the most poignant sight of all is down in the harbour, a red-hulled supply ship we've chased through Africa to reach. In the end, we made it, but our appeal for space on board the Agulhas has failed. And when she sails tomorrow on the only voyage of the year between Cape Town and the Antarctic, we'll still be here. The journey, it seems, is over. Our plan to reach Antarctica by ship from Cape Town has failed. But we have discovered there is a private company which says it could get us to the pole. We must take a risk with them or go home. But their base is in South America. We're at the end of the wrong continent. There's nothing for it but to fly 6,000 miles across the Atlantic, turning our back on the 30-degree meridian. Our route goes via Rio de Janeiro and the Andes to Santiago in Chile. The Virgin is closed when I arrive in Santiago, but the view from the plinth is well worth the walk. In this well-ordered capital at the foot of the Andes, a celebration is underway. The band of the palace guards strikes up a rousing and oddly familiar refrain. It's the president's birthday. The Chileans aren't always this nice to their leaders. 18 years ago, their own planes bombed this palace, and inside it, President Allende took his own life. Chileans may seem a bit subdued compared with other Spanish-speaking South Americans, but there are many pleasures here. I meet our local guide, Patricio, for lunch at one of the world's most elegant fish markets. Both the cuisine and the music are local. Patricio, a musician himself, gives me the lowdown on the pipes they call cana.
They're difficult to play. Yes, it is indeed. It's difficult to put in tune all the little pipes, right? And it's difficult to keep the tune on because you are playing long notes and you have to be a strong muscle in your stomach to keep the air going.
General Pinochet, who got rid of President Allende, tried to ban these instruments as being too representative of the left. He had more success with human beings. 2,000 of those he arrested are still missing. From Santiago, it's a further 1,700 miles down the coast to the town of Punta Arenas, which lies beside the Straits of Magellan and opposite the island of Tierra del Fuego. It grew up as the safest harbour for ships making the perilous journey round Cape Horn. From its airport, Adventure Network flies the only commercial plane into Antarctica.
Well, we've made it. We crossed continents. We're now at the tip of South America, and we're here on the appointed day for our departure from Punta Arenas. The plane's behind us, but the weather conditions round here are apparently unlike anywhere else on Earth, and the final decision as to whether we go today or not rests with the pilot and the weather station here at Punta Arenas Airport.
The pilot is a Canadian, Bruce Alcorn. His plane cannot put down for long in the intense cold of Antarctica. He can only fly out when he knows he can get back. He's looking for 18 hours of continuous good weather.
There seem to be a lot of low-pressure areas on this map. Is that common in Antarctica?
It's a phenomena of the South Polar regions. And back here a few pages, a few days ago, is a classic example. I don't know if you can see it here, but just in the area out here, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 low-pressure areas in an area that normally would only maybe have 1 or 2 maximum in other parts of the world.
So we're not going today?
We're definitely not going today.
When will you know enough? When will you make your decision about tomorrow?
At 7:30 tomorrow morning. We have a schedule at 7 o'clock in the morning with Patriot Hills to get their actual weather. And I'll come over here at about 7:15, see what the weatherman thinks and look at the satellite again. Based on that, we'll make a decision by 7:30.
What do you estimate the chances at the moment?
50-50 at this time. If you're a gambler, I'll give you a little better odds.
Whilst the DC-6 waits for the weather, I find out more about Adventure Network from the local manager, Anne Kershaw.
Have you ever had to abandon an expedition altogether?
Once in the early years, I think 1985, people had planned a sort of 3-week trip, and after 2.5 weeks of being in Punta Arenas with bad weather, we decided to abandon it.
The only remotely encouraging piece of advice I'm given is to go to the main square and visit the statue of Ferdinand Magellan, who led the world's first circumnavigation. If I want to be sure of returning safely from my journey, I must kiss the Indian's foot. Well, now I can get back safely, but when can I go?
Patriot Hills, Romeo Bravo. Okay, I checked. 10 Zulu weather is 15,000 scattered, 20,000 broken.
If you want to know the conditions in Antarctica, you must call up someone already there. There's no high-tech weather satellite, just the radio.
Okay, copy all. Bruce's plan as of this moment is to fly. The DC-6 will fly. Planning wheels off, 11 local. How copy?
This is the news we've been waiting for. Back at the airfield, the engineers can start putting the plane together. Bruce's DC-6 was first put together in 1953. In aviation terms, it's a geriatric, taking on one of the most demanding journeys in the world. I've taken some risks to get this far, but none have made me quite so nervous.
Well, as you can see, we're here. Action station's ready to go after 24 hours on the edge of our seats. We're on the edge of our hotel beds in Punta Arenas. We've now been told the weather is okay to fly into Antarctica. Planes have been known to turn back, and there's one experienced traveller said he's been to the airport more times than he's been to Antarctica, so we could still have to go back, but it looks as though we're off. And, well, all I can say is it's unlike any other departure we've made so far. A bit alarming, a bit exciting. It really is a voyage into the unknown. Ah, well, here goes.
The adventure starts right away. Just climbing aboard is a minor feat of mountaineering. And on this airline, you have to be your own baggage handler. When all is loaded, the pilot himself shuts the door for us. All part of the service, and is the only one who knows how to do it. Half the cabin is for freight, half for passengers. There are 25 of us today.
Climbing out of here, I expect it to be a little bit rough. Be some turbulence over the mountains before we get over Drake Passage. The weather is generally good all the way. It's clear at Patriot Hills. And the landing at Patriot Hills is different. If you haven't experienced it before, the ice is a little rough. The airplane wiggles around a little bit. Lots of noise from the engines. It's quite normal. Don't be concerned about it. The seatbelt sign means what it says. Please, when it's on, be in your seats with the belt on it. It's for a reason. I don't leave it on for nothing. And when the seatbelt sign's off, you're welcome to wander around the aircraft, come up to the cockpit, one or two at a time. If you're using a flash camera up there, please warn me first. It kind of startles the hell out of me when it goes off behind my head. And Willie and Rob will give you the rest of the evacuation stuff. And we'll see you in Patriot Hill. It'll be about 7 hours and 40 minutes, I anticipate.
In case of ditching, anybody not familiar with
Willie, the co-pilot, is, we're told, a fully qualified stuntman.
It's very easy.
As Bruce finally nurses us along the runway, I'm seized by an uncontrollable reluctance to part with the surface of Chile. The trouble with fear of the unknown is that you never know what the fear will be like until it's too late. Once clear of South America, we have a 1,500-mile journey to Adventure Network's base at Patriot Hills, Antarctica, which in turn is 600 miles from the South Pole. The flight is self-catering. It's quite liberating not to have to wait for trolleys and plastic trays. It's also much easier to meet your fellow passengers. As far as I can see, there's not a sane one among them. They range from Australian dentists who want to be mountaineers to Japanese who want to ride motorbikes to the pole.
That's the way to do it. All airline cases should be like that. Press one once it exploded. I don't touch them anymore.
4 hours after setting out, we're over the pack ice. We've reached what Bruce dryly refers to as PNR, the point of no return. There is no longer enough fuel to get us back to Chile. No one says anything, but the mood in the plane changes. Public jollity turns to private contemplation. Everyone prepares themselves in their own way for what lies ahead. There are no in-flight movies to break the mood, just in-flight maps.
Rob, we've been going about 5.5 hours. Where are we now?
Right, Michael, we've come from Chile over here. Our approximate track is the inked-in line. We're now south of the Antarctic Circle. We've come past the, you saw the icebergs that were calved off of these, these ice shelves here.
Was that real coast we've flown over yet, or was that just ice shelf?
That's ice shelf extended from this island area on the west of Alexander Island. We're now coming up into the Ronnie entrance area, and we'll be coming over this coast shortly, and then on to Mount Rex and over the mainland proper.
Yeah. How big are the icebergs? It's hard to tell from up here. I mean, what kind of size can they be?
The ones that we've been seeing have been up to 1 kilometer or 2 across. Again, the scale is difficult from altitude.
Yeah.
There was an iceberg about like 100 kilometers across.
Yeah.
The iceberg that would break off an ice shelf. Those happen only every few years, though. Yeah.
Apart from your base at the Patriot Hills, what else is around this area here? Any other settlement?
The next closest people would be at one of the scientific bases, either out on the coast or South Pole Station. At least 600 miles to the next closest humans from Patriot Hills. Yeah.
We have arrived at the emptiest continent on Earth. No one lives here. An area 1.5 times that of the USA is temporary home to some 3,000 scientists. The mountaineers catch a distant glimpse of their goal, Mount Vinson, 16,000 feet, the highest point in Antarctica. But the collective pulse really starts to quicken when the Patriot Hills rise toward us. These are the tips of mountains submerged beneath an ice cap 15 million years old, and in places 3 miles thick. For Bruce, this is the most testing moment. He must put down a 4-engined fixed-wheel aircraft on blue ice without using brakes. Everyone cheers madly because everyone knows what a risk we've just taken. If anything had gone wrong, there are no emergency vehicles of any kind to help us here. This is all there is at the terminal at Patriot Hills. The plane must be turned around fast. If the engines are stopped for more than 2 hours, they will freeze up. There's no time for a personal welcome or a helping hand onto a new, unslippery continent.
A bit we've all been warned about. I know why. Jesus. Absolutely. Plate glass. Oh, dear. Too late to go back. Whew. Oh, Bruce. Hey, Joel, how you doing?
The arrival of Bruce's plane is the major event at Patriot Hills. Everything needed to sustain life here comes in and goes out on the DC-6. Apart from unloading 25 passengers and all their equipment, there are also large stocks of food and supplies for the base. If bad weather set in, it could be 3 weeks or a month before the DC-6 is seen again. All the fuel has to be flown out here and the empty drums taken back. It makes it as expensive as Scotch whisky. Skidoos and sledges keep up a constant shuttle of freight between plane and camp. The rest of us, the human freight, walk. Conditions are good today. It's high summer and the temperature has soared to -6 centigrade. I don't know quite what I expected to find at the Patriot Hills base, but I think it was more than this. Next morning, after a calm night of unbroken sunshine, I take my first faltering steps in the art of Antarctic survival. The first thing I learn is that here in this ice desert, even the most mundane human tasks take on an epic quality.
Is the most extraordinary view from any lavatory anywhere in the world. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm probably the only person sitting on the toilet for the next 1,000 miles. Well, it doesn't matter there's no roof on it. I'd like to spend my whole life here. So it's bloody cold. You can't really hang around on these things. Interesting fact is that all human waste has to be removed from Antarctica. You're not allowed to leave anything here. So anything I may pass today will be air freighted out to Chile, where it's made into models and sold. The duty-free shop there. Makes you think. Better be a good one.
The Patriot Hills base is a unique gateway, distributing adventurers to every part of Antarctica. Shinji Kazama from Japan hopes to be the first person to reach the South Pole by motorbike. He's already ridden to the North Pole and halfway up Everest. He's accompanied by that indispensable aid to 20th century travel, a camera crew. While Kazama tests the snow surface, the doctors, dentists and accountants of Australia and New Zealand prepare to be airlifted out to Mount Vinson. One of their leaders is Peter Hillary, son of Sir Edmund Hillary, one of the first 2 men to climb Everest.
But just the actual logistics of an expedition like this, I mean, like catering. Give us a day's menu, what it might be like.
Oh, it's a sumptuous variety of porridge in the morning and crackers for lunch and rice for dinner. I mean, doesn't that really sound a cordon bleu meal?
How do you get people to sign up for this expedition?
Well, I haven't told them about the menu yet.
Well, I just ask on a personal level. You come from an illustrious sort of climbing background. Your father was the first man up Everest. What was it like when you were young? Were you given any option but to become interested in climbing, or?
Well, I think if anything, Dad really almost discouraged us from going to the mountains, certainly to climb. We went there skiing and things like that. So he really didn't particularly want any of his children to get into mountaineering. But I guess it's like, say, if you're brought up in a cricket family, you have a famous cricketer popping around every so often and asks the young myself, Peter, if he wants to go and sort of throw a ball around in the backyard, and it's a very infectious situation.
You weren't given crampons in your Christmas stocking at the age of 3, or?
No, but I soon located where Dad kept all his, so I had no problem with equipment.
While the climbers board their plane, those of us left behind are served the sort of meal which Peter Hillary's party won't see for at least 2 weeks.
Spaghetti!
Over a glass of Chilean wine, we compare our crazy schemes.
What is so special about the bike that you're using? What's different about it?
What's different? The normal one?
Yeah.
No pollution?
No pollution?
No noise?
Why is there no pollution? If you've got an engine, surely the exhaust must...
Like those, yeah, special things is on it.
They are low. Low pollution,
Yeah.
low noise.
No noise? And what else?
Wide tire and white color.
White colour, so that no one will be able to see you in the snow. You'll disappear. A non-serious question. You've been to the North Pole and the South Pole, and you've even driven your bike up Everest. What is there left to do next?
Yes, I have. Moon.
Moon? You're going to motorcycle to the moon?
Yes.
You're going to have to go very fast to get the leap off.
By 6. Jump.
Looking round the table, you can tell the regulars from the visitors. The regulars have given up shaving.
First time is done. Yeah.
But even the regulars aren't out here for long. The Antarctic summer lasts about 4 months. For the rest of the year, it's dark and intensely cold. There's no option then but to abandon the base. As head of operations Mike Sharp explains.
We just take the whole thing down, pack it all in boxes and slide it into a snow cave. It's about 4 feet underground at the moment. It's just one big massive room which we have to dig out.
What happens to the planes?
Well, 2 of the aircraft go back north. They go all the way back up to Canada, and the third one's a Cessna which we actually keep here. And we just dig a big hole for it and bury it. The only thing that's sticking out is the tail. We cover it in boards and planks and canvas things. It's very good, it's very successful. We'd actually take the skis and the legs off and lower it onto a sled to slide it into this monster hole. And then when we come back the next year, we just drag it back out again, put the skis on, and away we go. And it gets its certificate of airworthiness as soon as it comes out. We have an engineer in to check it and make sure everything's okay, and then we're away again.
Last season they weren't so lucky. An oil drum driven by the bitingly strong winds took the tail off one of the planes. A replacement just flown in is being fitted by Bill Ali Cook, a man of the Arctic.
Major surgery. How long have you been down in the Antarctic?
I've been down here since the 15th of November here at Patriot Hills, and actually this is the first time I've been to the Antarctic, and I'm proud to say I'm probably the first Eskimo that's ever been down here, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Show him how to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Eh?
Do you remember anything of igloo life yourself? I mean, was they still around when you were a kid?
Well, I don't remember. I know how to build them. In fact, I can say, I guess, is that I was probably one of the last few that was ever born in an igloo. Yeah.
Well, you can finish the lavatory, put a roof on. Someone started there.
Well,
is that your work?
No, that isn't mine. I would never have air conditioning.
Word is that if the weather holds, we could be going to the pole tomorrow. There's just time to ring home.
Okay. Hello, Helen. Can you hear me? Well, if you can hear me, that's fine. All I get from you is a noise, a rather strange bird-like noise, but if that's your reply, that's great. I just rang to say that I'm in the Patriot Hills in Antarctica, 600 miles from the pole. Are you impressed?
Definitely, very impressed. I was always one at pulling the birds.
Well, it's just to say that we're going to the pole tomorrow afternoon. We're leaving here about 5, and we'll be staying there maybe 36, 48 hours. Over? Yes, I have got clean underwear. Love, the thing is that I really can't hear your voice very well, so I'll just carry on and tell you the salient information. It's very nice down here at Patriot Hills. The sun is shining. It's about sort of minus 8 degrees. It'll be about minus 25 at the pole. I'm a bit worried as I only have one set of thermal underwear, but apart from that, I hope I will do the family proud. How are you? Are you? Well, I think you should try using the other one. Well, it's now about 6:30 on the day we're due to leave for the pole, and as you can probably hear, the wind, which we haven't heard recently, suddenly got up, and it sounds very much as though the weather could be changing out there, and I wonder whether it'll affect our chances of leaving today. So I suppose we're going to find out what's going on.
With the wind comes a vicious drop in temperature. But what's important is not how conditions are here, but how they are at the pole. Mike Sharp calls up the American base there.
Yeah, South Pole, Patriot Hills. How is your present weather, over?
It may sound like Marconi's first broadcast, but this is a voice from the pole itself. I just pray that whatever he's saying, it's good news. It is. High pressure over the pole, and as the wind suddenly drops, there's nothing more to keep us here. First to take advantage of the improvement is Kazama, with the message he hopes to nail to the pole, though he doesn't quite know what it says.
I can't read it.
His backup team works almost casually. They could be planning a trip to the supermarket instead of a month on the ice. As if saying goodbye might be tempting fate, there's little ceremony as Kazama and his team ride off into the never-setting sun. Their departure makes my feet even itchier, but it's late in the afternoon before our turn comes to load up. This tiny plane will be carrying 7 people, fuel drums and survival equipment. It's a single-engined Otter of 1950s design, and this is the single engine that will take us to the pole. I seek a little reassurance from our pilot, Dan Baldwin.
Well, Dan, we're in your hands now. Do you have a message of hope for us?
Oh, yes, the weather looks good towards the pole. Shouldn't have any problem. Got a little wind there, blowing snow, but otherwise, looks like it's going to be a good trip.
Have you been to the pole often?
Never been there.
You've never been there?
No.
Ah.
So it's a first for both of us.
You know the way?
I'm from the north. I'm not from down south here. I just come down south for the winter.
Yeah.
To enjoy the nice weather.
And this aircraft must be a veteran of polar flight, so is it?
No, this will be the first trip for turbine otter, single-engine turbine otter, to the pole.
So the plane's never been to the pole.
Plane's never
You've
been
never
there.
been to the pole. We've never been to the pole.
Well, I can just land you anywhere and you won't know the difference then, will you?
Well, we're all in it together. It's not a wheeled aircraft, this. What are we landing on?
We're landing on skis.
Are those trickier than wheels?
No, not so much. Just whether it would be wheel skis or floats, they're all a little different, but there's not much difference in landing.
Okay, well, if you're optimistic, I bet you're raring to go, are you?
I'm raring to go.
Okay, so here goes.
This is it, the last leg. I ought to feel confident, elated even, but I know from the Arctic that at the extremes of the Earth, happy endings can never be taken for granted. Rudy Driscoll, the company's other customer, only took up adventures like this in his 50s.
Sunglasses. Now the race keeps mountain range and the blue ice field, like a sort of little lake attached at the bottom of the mountain. Would you rather be doing it on skis, Rudy? No, frankly, I think this is a bit nicer. I wouldn't even like to cross that on a motorcycle. It's just such an expanse of white. I mean, I can't imagine how you could do it without getting totally disoriented. No real landmarks around except for an occasional mountain. It makes you think how resourceful the early explorers were when they didn't really have navigation satellites or anything like that, electronics, radios. They found their way across that sea of emptiness.
At the heart of Antarctica is a polar plateau with an average height of 10,000 feet and an average annual temperature of -50 centigrade. It's a 5-hour flight, but there's not much time to sleep. Halfway through, we must stop and refuel. First, we have to find the fuel. A chart gives a rough position, but the precise location is marked by a bamboo pole. Dan has never been here before, nor has his co-pilot, Scott, who, it turns out, is not a pilot at all, but a doctor. Dan goes down for a closer look. No one seems to mention what happens if we don't find it. After a few abortive passes, Dan catches sight of something. We've put down at a remote spot called King's Peak. No sooner have we squeezed ourselves off the plane than we're put to work erecting a tent. Scott the doctor supervises Rudy and myself. It is bitterly cold.
The main thing here is to hang on to anything that might blow, because it'll be a long walk to Patriot Hill. Forget it.
Those back home does it automatically. Yeah. Return to sender. It's difficult to grip anything with these mittens on, isn't it?
I'm just going to pin out one corner.
Okay. Holding my end up.
As we continue our passable imitation of Laurel and Hardy, Dan digs for aviation fuel. The pump works and the Otter's tank fills with what we hope will be enough to see us to the pole.
Sure.
What seems like several hours later, we have the tent up. Only then does it become apparent why we've had to put it up in the first place. Dan is leaving us here while he flies 50 miles away to drop fuel for Kazama's motorbike expedition. Watching him disappear over the mountain fills me with foreboding. I don't think I've ever had such an acute sense of being nowhere. In our nylon igloo, Scott tries to cheer us up with tales of savage weather and people being trapped for days. At last there comes the sound we've been waiting for. Watching Dan approach is one of the most comforting sights I've seen. Watching him land is one of the most terrifying. We take the tent down again, and after one last weather check, Dan sets course for the pole. These are difficult conditions in an unpressurized cabin. We're at the equivalent of 15,000 feet above sea level. Rudy especially is finding breathing hard in the thin air. Scott administers oxygen. Slowly and uncomfortably, we draw nearer to the pole.
South Pole, 58 Juliet Hotel, do you copy, over?
58 Juliet Hotel, South Pole.
Roger, we're about 15 minutes out inbound, how's your weather?
I have a couple of pieces of information for you. When you land on the skiway, you'll see a number 9 marker and recommend to pull off well off the runway and park the plane there. How copy?
Yeah, you're coming in 5 square there.
Roger that, and I've got one more little piece of information here. There is no certified runway or airfield available, and the U.S. government cannot authorize a landing. How copy?
Roger, we copy that.
Okay, have a good landing.
So we're brought down to Earth. The goal of our 5.5-month journey is within our grasp, but the radio conversation with the base is a reminder of an awkward truth. No one really wants us here.
Well, here it is. We've landed at the South Pole, or at least tantalizingly close. The only thing is I don't quite know where the pole is. So I'd better go and ask.
This is definitely not what I expected. It's a cross between the moon and a marshalling yard in the Midwest. I see domes and aerials and dishes and pylons, but I see no pole. How ironic it is that at the center of the world's most unspoilt wilderness, the needs of science have created a building site. But where's the pole? Perhaps it's kept indoors to stop it getting knocked over by bulldozers. Only one way to find out. This is the heart of the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station, established by the Americans 35 years ago. It's an extraordinary feat, proving that even at the most inhospitable place on Earth, life as we know it can survive. Outside, the temperature is 30 below. In here, they can wear Bermuda shorts and eat chili and blueberry pie. This summer, there's a record number of 120 scientists working here. One of them must know where the pole is. Well, now I know where it is, but not which one it is. Surely this can't be it, all gaudy like a fairground attraction. Thankfully not. This is what they call the ceremonial pole. Politicians who get this far like to be photographed here. At last I see it. And at last I'm on the point of joining the select ranks of those who have done what Scott and Amundsen never did. Stand on both poles.
At this point, all the world's lines of longitude converge on my toe caps. It's impossible to go further south than this. Every direction you go in will be north. At this point, I can actually walk right around the world in 8 seconds, as I will now demonstrate. It is the end of the world. It's also the end of our harebrained migration from north to south. I think the omens are telling us to stop. Just a while ago, the camera packed up because of the cold, and as you can tell, I'm beginning to pack up because of the cold too. It's minus 30 degrees centigrade here. With wind chill, that's about minus 50. We're also at an elevation of 9,000 feet, so there's altitude sickness to combat. But I think it's just that after 5.5 months on the road, the body is finally saying, pack it in.
When I was a boy in Sheffield, I dreamed of coming here, like my heroes Scott and Amundsen. Now I am here, I want to celebrate. But it's not that easy. The US government doesn't encourage hospitality. While the scientists snuggle under warm blankets, we spend a bitter night, 4 to a tent. But I can think of no more fitting end to our pole-to-pole journey than to say, I'm glad we did it this way.